Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories, wise tales from storytellers around the world which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. Hello, Super Great Kids, and how are you? I hope you've had a good week. I've had a happy week because I've just had a little holiday. I've been walking in the north of Spain with some friends. In the UK, some children are also having a little holiday, a little half-term holiday, so they're making the most of their free time and getting ready for Halloween. The fields near my house are full of glowing orange pumpkins, and lots of houses near my home are decorated with grinning lanterns, spiders' webs and witches on broomsticks. Our theme at the moment is Stories of Magic. Last week, we had a story from Wales about a powerful wizard, and this week our story is about a witch from Shropshire in England. But she's not a particularly scary witch. If you're kind to animals, she'll leave you alone. But you never can be too sure about witches, can you? This witchy tale is told by the talented storyteller Amy Douglas. Now, just before we start the story, I've made a magic potion and I'm hoping it's going to make animals talk. I want to know what my dog Pip is thinking when we're out in the woods. Here's the potion. Take 1 spotted fish with silver scales, 2 eyelashes from diving whales, 3 forked tongues from orange newts, and stir it round with spider juice. Do you think it'll work? Do you think you could make up your own magic potion while we have a quick word with the grown-ups? What would you put in yours? Ready? Off you go. Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. I wonder what delightfully nasty things you decided to put in your magic potion. And what would you use it for? Would you use it to make your teacher disappear or to get your goldfish to talk? My dog Pip sadly didn't talk after sniffing my magic potion. She just licked my nose and yawned. Oh well, I'll keep trying. But now it's time to hear about the Bridgnorth Witch. So, without further ado, let's give a very warm welcome to the great Amy Douglas.
The Bridgnorth Witch lived in a cave. Now, she wasn't that unusual in doing that. There were caves all along the cartway with people living in them. They made the caves into comfortable places with windows and doors and chimneys and fireplaces. They put rugs on the floor. They brought in chairs to sit on and beds for sleeping. But the witch's cave was different. There was always a strange smell to the smoke that blew from her chimney. It was dark in her cave, and there were always animals. The witch loved animals. She said she could trust animals. People she wasn't quite so sure about. So she kept cats for company, hens for eggs. She had a goat for milk. And there always seemed to be animal visitors hanging around, a fox standing silently in the doorway. There might be a hedgehog curled up in a box of straw or a crow with a bandaged wing. People who knew the witch were always very, very polite to her. If she asked you to do something, you did it, and you did it with a smile. All sorts of things happened to people that annoyed the witch. For starters, there was young Jim. Now, Jim, he was caught one day pointing at the wart on the end of the witch's nose and laughing and laughing. Well, he stopped laughing when the next day he woke up covered in spots all over his face. Then there was that posh gentleman who'd galloped his horse through the puddles and spattered the witch with muddy water. Well, he got a nasty rash on his backside the next day, and he couldn't sit down or ride a horse for an entire week. Now, the cartway, where the witch lived, was a steep track that followed the side of the hill round, leading up from the river up to Hightown. All the goods coming in and out of Bridgnorth came and went by the river. And then all the wares, all the goods from the river barges were loaded onto carts and pack horses and carted up the cartway into the town, past the caves. One day, she saw a man leading a donkey up the hill. At least she thought it was a donkey. She could barely see the donkey. It was so laden with packages and parcels. That donkey was straining, puffing and blowing, doing its best to carry all of the weight on its back up the hill. Its back was sagging, and its owner was shouting at it, cursing it, whipping it. The witch's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, the donkey's ears flattened onto the top of its head. It shuddered to a halt. And there, in front of the donkey, was the witch, blocking the road and a face like thunder. "What have you done to my donkey, witch?" growled the trader. "I have done very little," said the witch. "You, on the other hand, seem to want to break the donkey's back." "Run, you stupid beast, move!" shouted the trader. And he lifted his whip into the air and started swiping it at the donkey. "You can shout and yell," said the witch, "but that donkey is not moving until you pay my taxes. Give me half of your load, and then you and your donkey can carry on up the hill." "What?" said the trader. "Ha!" The man started to laugh. The witch didn't laugh. And the donkey didn't move. The man grabbed the donkey's halter and tried to pull and drag it up the hill. The donkey's eyes rolled, but it didn't move a step. The witch stood in the middle of the road, arms folded, saying nothing. Whatever the trader did to that donkey, he pushed, he pulled, he couldn't move the donkey up the hill. Well, by now, of course, a crowd had gathered, and they were all watching, though they kept a safe distance. A queue built up behind the trader of people wanting to make their way up the cartway. And at last one of the other carters came up to the trader. "What are you doing, man? Don't be ridiculous. Don't be a fool. Don't you know who she is? That woman. She's a lady to be respected. Do yourself a favour. Do what she asks you to do. Do it with a smile, else you will regret this day for a long time." The trader drew in a deep breath. Everybody thought he was going to do some more shouting, but instead he let the breath slowly hiss out. "Fine," he said with gritted teeth. "Which half would you like, lady?" The witch smiled brightly. "Now, let's see," she said. "I'll have that and that. And ooh, that looks nice." The witch took all the heaviest items from the donkey's back. "Lovely. Now, if you boys could just carry those things over there to my cave, I'll sort out the donkey." With a swish of her skirt, she left the trader and she went to her cave. She dug inside a sack and came back a moment later with a carrot. She stroked the donkey's nose, rubbed its ears, and fed it the carrot. Then she looked at the trader and smiled and said, "Well, I think he's ready to move now." The trader grabbed the donkey's halter and led him away up the hill. And that is how things were from then on. The witch stood watching all the people coming up the cartway and taxed them. But she didn't tax everybody. As people climbed up the hill with loaded carts and pack horses, she only taxed those who were carrying the most. When she saw horses or donkeys that were struggling, their backs sagging under huge packs, her eyes narrowed. She would step out into the road, the animal would freeze, and the owner would have to pay half of his wares. On market days, the town children used to come and watch. They would sit opposite the cave and wait. if a carter was stopped and argued instead of paying the tax the witch demanded, the children would guess what curse the witch was going to put on them, whether she would give them boils on the bottom, or if she would make them laugh like a braying donkey, ee-aw, ee-aw. Or maybe she would make them walk on hands and knees and look like a donkey. The witch would look over at them, and there would be a glint in her eye, and the children were sure that she listened, and sometimes she would do exactly what they said. But as time went by, the traders got the idea. Didn't make their donkeys and their pack horses carry quite so much. That is the story of the Bridgnorth Witch.
Ooh, thank you so much, Amy Douglas, for telling us that story. What a relief that the witch rescued that donkey. Poor old thing. Maybe you could send us a picture of the witch with a wart on the end of her nose, making potions in her cauldron to stop people being mean to animals. Did you have a favourite moment in that story? I quite liked it when the witch made people bray like a donkey or gave them a rash on their bottom. What would you do if you had magical powers and someone was being mean to your pet or even to your friend? Would you turn them into a toad? If you like that story, you can find it in a book written by Amy Douglas, which is called Shropshire Folktales for Children. It's a book filled with buried treasure, mermaids, people-eating giants, sleeping kings, and a monster fish. And now, it's time to spread our wings and fly around the world with Story Owl to say hello to some new owlets who've hopped into our nest and joined our club. Our first hoot out goes to Owlet Zena, who will be 5 next week on Halloween. Zena comes from Newcastle in Australia. Newcastle is on Awabakal country, which is the Aboriginal name for the region Zena lives in. She loves the Nancy stories and the ghost of the bloody finger. Hope you have a happy day on Halloween, Zena. And over to the US next to say hello to Owlet Hannah from Denver in Colorado, who loves listening to Super Great Kids stories in the car. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Glad you're enjoying them, Hannah. I wonder if you've told any stories yet. Maybe you could try telling a scary story for Halloween. And let's flip-flap-fly up to Ontario in Canada next to say hello to 6-year-old River and 2-year-old Soleil. They listen on long car rides and on the way to school. River's favourite story is Stick Woman. They also enjoy the scary stories, lots of them coming up soon. And let's flutter across to the east coast of the US next to hoot hello to sisters Mariana, who is 5, and Eleanor, who is 2. They live on Staten Island in New York. Their all-time favourite story is The Hairy Toe. And finally, let's fly south to Baton Rouge in Louisiana in the US to say ooh, 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 to Madeline, who is nearly 6, and to Vivian, who is 1. They joined the Owlets Club because they wanted more of the scary stories. Ah, well, you're going to get plenty of those in the next couple of weeks. In fact, since it's Halloween next weekend, Madeline, we're putting out a couple of bonus scary stories, especially for owlets, so you can have a scary story bonanza next weekend. Ooh, ooh, ooh. How's that? That's it for Owlet Welcomes this week. More next week. And thanks for all of your drawings of the stories which you've been sending in to Story Owl. Our Pick of the Week picture goes to 8-year-old Zara from Melbourne in Australia for her fun drawing of how Maui slowed the sun. The expression on Maui's brothers' faces really made us laugh, and the fact that they all look so very hot and sweaty after climbing up so close to Ra, the lazy sun, to encourage him to stay up in the sky for a bit longer. Very entertaining picture. Thank you, Zara. And thanks to all of you who've sent in pictures to our Facebook page. If you'd like to see the super great pictures sent in by story fans, go to facebook.com/supergreatkidsstories. And if you follow us on Instagram, we now have an account of @supergreatkids_art. Hope you enjoy our picture gallery as much as we do. And thanks very much to our super great Owlets who continue to support our podcast and make it possible for us to find new storytellers and share these stories. If you'd like to join us on Patreon or on Apple Podcasts, we'll say hello to you on the show. You can hear our stories advert-free and you'll get access to our Super Great Kids Stories Express with short introductions, no adverts, purely story. Great for listening to stories back-to-back on long journeys. And you'll have access to over 40 Owlet bonus stories and at least 30 super great scary stories, with some bonus subscriber scary stories coming up soon for Halloween. And if you'd like to join us for our online show with Kim, that's me, and Jason Buck on November the 16th, one ticket works for the whole family. And if you live in or near the UK, you might want to come to meet us at our live show in Hammersmith in London in December with me, Kate Corkery and Toop. Details for both shows are on our website in the news section. That's supergreatkidsstories.com. We'd love to meet you. That's it for today. I hope you have a happy week filled with slightly scary stories. Keep telling your stories and singing those songs. This podcast was produced at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.